Alrighty, welcome to the Bellefleur Tire post-game show. This was a hard loss, a 6-2 loss at the hands of the Edmundston Blizzard, and it's the second game into the regular season, second game at home. Now, there were a lot of takeaways from this, some positive, some negative. Not gonna really sugarcoat things, but there were definitely some moments there where they had a lot of great opportunities here. And you look at the amount of talent that this roster has, the amount of depth that this Rapids team has. The score was a high one for Edmundston, and there were a couple of bad line changes, some penalties. The discipline wasn't quite up to standard, but overall, it was just a very physical game, and it really set the tone for what this series is going to be. Now, there is quite a few games between these two teams through the course of the regular season. This was only game 1 in the series, and it was game 2 out of 52. So, with that being said, there's not a whole lot to be disappointed with right now, because the Stars started to show their brightness. And what I mean by that is you see some of the returning veterans who have started to find their footing once again in the lineup. We saw Cole McWilliam have a couple of really great chances on Friday night. Saw him have a couple of really good chances tonight as well. And you look at Braden Campbell, who I think has looked fantastic. You put him out there and he just maximizes every little bit of space that you give him. There were so many good things that it may be hidden under the score. It may be hidden under the fact that there was a physical game and there were a lot of penalties on the Rapids side. But don't let that distract you from the fact that this is still early in the season. There were a lot of growing pains, and this is the time to really get those growing pains out in the open and dissect it so you can do a lot better. Now, that's what this game was. So we'll start at the beginning of the game. The Edmundston Blizzard went up 1-0 early. They come back to tie it. Nick Brennan with a beautiful shot, perfectly timed, well placed, and it was an incredible goal. The only goal on the board for the Grand Falls Rapids this game, but it was a magnificent solo effort. It was unassisted on that. It was a net front goal on the backhand. And once again, I cannot say enough good things about Nick Brennan as well. He's one of the veterans that was returning from last season and really started to make a name for himself last year. And continuing in, it's almost like he hasn't lost a step. That they're coming into camp, he looked like he was one step ahead. He followed that up in the preseason, and the first 2 games of the regular season here, he's really started to hone into that zone and come into his own. Now, if we're looking at the rookie players who are coming in, I thought Ethan Kane had a decent game. Obviously, he had a 10-minute misconduct in the second period, which was a little bit costly. But so far from this Rapids defense, there have been moments of greatness, and some that, as you learn to play as a team and as the chemistry gets better, are going to go on longer and obviously start to get better, and we'll start to see that as the course of the season moves on. But for right now, this game, it started off as a 1-1 tie. It was a very close game, but this just goes to show that penalties can sometimes get you into trouble really quick. So there were a couple of penalties. If you weren't able to watch the game, or if you weren't here today, there were a couple of penalties in the second period that got them into a little bit of trouble. The Blizzard ended up going up 4-1. And in the third period, they scored another 2 goals to make it 6-1. Now, it's hard, again, to find words sometimes to describe these types of losses, but keep in mind, it is, again, early in the season where there's growing pains, still getting used to the lineup. The core that the Rapids have right now only got to play in 1 preseason game where they were all together, where this team was all together, and it was the very last one against the Fredericton Red Wings. But they've had time to acclimate a little bit, and they've started to really show that resilience and that teamwork, and it's so far looked really good. Now, the only thing that they have to do is really get it to translate onto the score sheet, and you look at the amount of chances that they had. Net front, they were hitting posts, they were getting those pucks on net. It's all a matter of just burying those pucks. And not to say that they didn't play incredibly well in the offensive zone when they did. They had those chances, and they did very, very well. They've just got to capitalize on a couple more of those as well. Now, for Edmundston, I got to give them all the credit to them. They had a really good game. They came out strong, and they capitalized on those opportunities that they had. But for Grand Falls, it's the second game of a 52-game season. They have 2 games on the road next weekend in West Kent and Fredericton, and those are going to be very intense games as well. We talked about a little bit about rivalry games, right, in the pregame show with Mike Kavanaugh, and previously on the postgame show with Cole McWilliam as well. These rivalry games are meant to be intense. The physicality, it was there tonight. It was certainly there from both sides. You saw those heavy checks. You saw those scrums. You saw all sorts of really incredible action that if you're a hockey fan, and more specifically, if you're a fan of these teams playing each other, you love to see this. For the home crowd, you would have loved to have seen a win, but overall, this is what rivalries are all about. It's that heavy physical game that makes it what it is. Now, aside from the game, I want to take a minute to talk about the tailgate party and the pregame festivities that was here at the E&P Seneschal Center earlier today. So the tailgate party started at 10 o'clock this morning, and there was a very, very good turnout. We talked a little bit about the community and how important it is to have people in the community as well supporting the Grand Falls Rapids. We talked about that with Mike earlier on the show, and it was a really, really great turnout. From just coming here with the barbecues and hanging out, playing on the ball hockey rink in that game that happened earlier this afternoon, and doing the shoot to win as well. There were so many incredible things. The poster making stations as well, that's something that I think was an amazing idea, getting the kids involved and getting them really, getting them into the sport that they know and love. So I think that was an amazing opportunity, and I wanted to, on behalf of everybody, I would like to say thank you to all of those who did attend the tailgate party and the pregame festivities this afternoon. It was an amazing success, and it's something that we will definitely want to do again in the future. I know that I was very happy with the turnout. I was super excited when I found out that there was going to be a tailgate party. And you look at the amount of incredible community teamwork that was done through the course of not just this weekend, but leading up to this weekend. So with that being said, there is a lot more to be excited about. This is game 2 out of 52. I know that you're frustrated right now, and I know that it's probably not the ideal situation to be in, but there are so many more games. The next game is going to be at home against the Campbellton Tigers on September 27th. And that's going to be a game to be excited about. It's the big games like Campbellton, Edmundston, Fredericton. Those are the games that you really want to start to pay attention to, especially earlier in the season, because it's not just a rivalry game. It's a game that is really going to help you boost your standings and the stats. And I know that it's early in the season and you're probably not thinking a whole lot about later on and what happens later on, but the thing is, too, your goal, especially in the first couple of games, is to get as far ahead in the standings as possible. But for the Rapids now, this is just about finding your footing, putting this team together, and the results will come. So this may not be the best result tonight, but there's a lot more to be excited about, a lot more hockey to be played, and so many more games that are worth watching. So Devin Judge did an amazing job tonight on the Flow Sports broadcast. If you haven't watched it, then you should go back and give it a listen for sure. He always does pretty well up in the booth. And this is going to be a very good next couple of weeks in terms of games, because you have those rivalry games, like I mentioned, between Fredericton and West Kent. Then they return home to face the Campbellton Tigers on September 27th, and that weekend is packed as well. There's going to be so much more. So much more. We are just getting started, Rapids Nation, and there is so much more to get excited about. With that being said, I would like to thank everybody for watching the Bellefleur Tire Rapids postgame show for this afternoon, and I will see you on September 27th for the pregame show when the Campbellton Tigers come into town to face off against the Grand Falls Rapids, and let's hopefully get a win then.